Veterans Voices is sponsored by these local businesses.
When people think of the military, they often think of conflict and combat. But there's also a part that works in building relationships with foreign countries. In this week's Veterans Voices, how Army veteran Antonio Bonch helped cultivate those relationships.
Although your military, your Army is always to be prepared for war, we also have a very small arm of the military that's about building relationships.
The Army is a family affair for Antonio Bonch, following in his father's footsteps. But his career looked different than others.
You have scattered around embassies in, every continent. We have military personnel. Sometimes it's just 2 people. Other times you have offices that are as large as 50 to 75 people that are working on building networks. This is a very small cohort of your military. It's probably less than 1%. That does this kind of work on a daily basis with your partners.
He was first assigned to a chemical detachment, eventually becoming part of the diplomatic arm. When 9/11 happened, he and his family were sent to Kuwait.
I wound up being assigned to be the advisor to the Kuwait Navy and the Kuwait Coast Guard. And so my job was to ensure that whatever the U.S. government and the U.S. military needed to prosecute the war was available, that the Kuwaitis were going to be amenable to whatever we needed them to do.
He also spent time working in Germany, Morocco, Lebanon, Yemen, and was sent on a special mission to Israel in 2005.
The Israelis were going to disengage from Gaza and 2 settlements from the West Bank. And so my job was to work with the Palestinians to ensure that they would assist the Israeli Defense Forces with a security cordon to withdraw the settlers that were in Gaza at that time.
After that, Bonch went back to Germany to help with a new Africa command, and then went back to Yemen, helping to send its military members to schools in the States and purchasing small arms.
The country also purchases weapon systems. So at the time I negotiated the biggest contract we ever had with Morocco, a $2.5 billion sale of F-16s and T-6 trainer aircraft.
He became a defense attaché and was the Levant division chief before retiring from the Pentagon. 27 years, 4 months, and 16 days as an officer wasn't enough, though.
The thing about servicemen and women is we don't stop. We don't stop giving to our country, to our communities, and so one way of doing that is belonging to veteran service organizations.
Bonch is also involved with the American Legion Watauga Post, and he's the quartermaster for the Veterans of Foreign Wars Post number 2166. And one of his 5 daughters actually followed in his footsteps and went into the Army too. You can nominate a veteran who served our country and share their story for our ongoing Veterans Voices series. Just log on to WJHL.com and click the Community tab.